Hi folks, how's it going out there? Here we are for the other section of History 1520, completing in hopefully two lectures, two-part lecture, Chapter 23, The Transformation of Europe. Before we begin, of note, please always check your announcements section. Make sure your email is connected to that so you can get announcements via email more quickly than searching for them. A test, really a quiz. A quiz has been posted on Chapter 22. Alright, so I'm going to fail this quiz if I start, but whatever. Right? Because there is a 20-minute time limit. There are 20 questions from Chapter 22. The textbook authors wrote the questions. The quiz is on the chapter. It wouldn't be fair, really, if I wrote the questions because I might pull in information that's not in your textbook. You are allowed, it is acceptable for you to use your textbook for the quiz. Please don't use any other sources. And in fact, in a 20-minute time limit, it'd be really tough. You'd have to Google really fast to find those answers, and obviously you wouldn't be learning anything anyway, all right? So you need to become your own browser, your own Chrome or Internet Explorer, by having read the chapter and knowing something about the question itself, and then knowing where to find the answer if it's not on the top of your brain. Okay, so quiz, that will be due September 8th, 8:30 a.m. Again, 20 questions. We will have a total of 11 quizzes, dropping the lowest one, so 10 quizzes that will comprise the same weight as one exam. Speaking of exams, we have an exam coming up in 2 weeks. You have a week to do an exam, which is one of the advantages of being this kind of remote environment. You don't have to come in with a pencil and sweat it out over 50 minutes or 75 minutes, whatever it is for you guys. You actually have a week. That's the good news. The bad news, if there is bad news, it's 5 essay questions, 4 from the textbook, pretty much 1 per chapter. Sometimes we have 5 chapters in the unit. Usually there's 4 chapters in the unit, plus 1 question on current events. And I've given you 1 article per week to read with respect to current events. Somehow I need to turn those 4 articles into a question. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but I have until September 14th to do so. Those those links, there's a whole lot of stuff that you're not allowed to see here, so let me change the view. Actually just quizzes I have not opened yet. Okay. So what's on the content? Chapter 22, that's a PDF, Chapter 23 and Chapter 24, PDFs. So you have time to get your textbook, but you really got to get it, okay? 6th edition is used. It should be relatively inexpensive because McGraw-Hill, our publishers, are now on to the 7th and very expensive edition. Quiz 22 is there as content. Syllabus, if you need to refer back to it. Discussion forum, for actually these 2 YouTube videos, I will put up a discussion forum for them. And there you go, your current events articles. Okay, it's in a Word document. It's also in the announcement section. If you need just to click the link. Hello? What happened to it? Okay, well, just everything stopped. Interesting, okay. Okay, there it is, but it's, okay, just scroll down for some reason. So 1 is on amid racial reckoning, teachers are reconsidering how history is taught. Oh, that sounds right. So actually already in this course we've begun to discuss, at least via YouTube and Zoom, the construction of racism. How racism was mentally constructed by people in power to justify slavery for profit. Okay? So go back and listen to that and think about that, right? Or ask me questions about that. A Christopher Columbus statue is getting knocked down. Look, there were no statues of Christopher Columbus in 1493, right? He becomes more of a folk hero for light-skinned people in the America, especially North America. Then what else did I have here? Something I can't remember. Historical myths debunked. I need to reread that myself. And then the Ottoman Sultan who changed America. Okay, so we will be speaking a bit about the Ottoman Empire soon. So those 4 articles, they're essentially related to current events, will comprise 1 of the 5 questions on the upcoming exam. You want to make sure that you have read all the material prior to the exam date. Right? And that again will be September 14th through the 21st. Now that I've actually lost everything, I'm not going to stop the video here because we've already done 5 minutes of video, right? From time to time, I actually will get up and check the other side of the camera. I do. I'm not like Stephen Colbert. This is not late night. And we have all types of technical difficulties because I don't have a technician here. Come on, open up. Open up. Tonight we're going to talk about, at least for me it's tonight, we're going to talk about chapter 23, the transformation of Europe. And I said, you know, that's kind of cheating for Bentley Ziegler Salter to call this chapter the transformation of Europe, because transformation is another word for history, right? History studies change. History studies transformation. So the transformation of Europe when? 1500 to 1800. 3 centuries of European history in one chapter. Are you kidding me? Okay, this is a whole course. So we're going to survey it, as we do with everything in this course, and go rather rapidly. Previously, via Zoom, we discussed the Reformation, the split of Western Christendom. For over 1,000 years, there's one Christian denomination. It's the Catholic Church in Western Europe. In Eastern Europe, just besides the East, Eastern Europe is the Orthodox Church. And that split came about by the year 1000. We're going to round off. 500 years later, the Western Church splits. Okay, it's like a tree branching out in 2 directions. Catholic Church and the Protestant denominations. Okay, all Christian. This is a Christian tree, no matter what your pastors might have taught you or anyone else, right? This is all Christianity, the different branches of Christianity, which means different interpretations of what it meant to be a Christian. Okay? So the Protestant Reformation, right around 1500, go figure. One of the reasons we picked 1500 to start this course. We saw that Catholic, actually priest Martin Luther in what is now Germany, had a problem with the Catholic Church, actually 95 problems, right? Which he supposedly, had printed, and at least by kind of folk tradition, tacked to the cathedral wall in Wittenberg. In reality, the people of northern, what is now Germany, because there was no Germany yet, we're highly literate, okay? Business people have to be literate. You business majors have to know how to read and write well and articulately and express yourselves, etc., grammatically correct. And they agreed, largely with Luther. They began to protest the monopoly of the Catholic Church. They broke away. They became Protestants, right, Protestants. And the branch of the branch, what's another metaphor I can use? The twig, although it's a pretty big twig, coming off the Protestant branch would be called Lutheranism. Those who followed Luther when he got kicked out of the Catholic Church, excommunicated, which actually meant he wasn't supposed to go to heaven. He said, well, just if I've done anything wrong, justified by the Bible, so be it, okay? Northern Europe largely follows Luther. If you have relatives who are Swedish, Scandinavian, Northern German, probably Lutheran, somewhere in your family tree, okay? Another kind of big twig coming off would be Calvinism. In a lot of different places. John Calvin was a French lawyer who got kicked out of France, ends up in Switzerland, and has a conception of Christianity based upon the idea of predestination. So it's all kind of figured out before you're born, you're going to heaven or hell. But don't worry, because if you're hearing Calvin, you're going to heaven. You're among the elect. You're smart, you're handsome, and you have a little bit of wealth because you work hard, okay? Those sick, poor people must be going to hell. God doesn't like them. Let's begin an appealing message. By the way, the Presbyterians today move beyond predestination. It tends to be a fairly liberal church. But this becomes a rather popular message in Switzerland, Scotland, among the Puritans and the more radical Puritans we call pilgrims. In England, the Huguenots in France. Calvinism sprouts up throughout much of Europe. By the way, Luther said we get to heaven through God's free gift, okay? And not by doing good works, by the gift of faith. The Catholic Church should put the emphasis on faith. Rewind if I can. On good works, okay? If you have faith, you will do the charity. You'll do the good works. So, from the standpoint of year 2020, slightly different emphasis on all of this, right? Not enough to get violent over, although these people will, okay? Catholics and Protestants will kill each other in the name of the Prince of Peace. Throughout the 16th century, right, the 1500s, it's really a sad time in European history. Another branch or twig of the Protestant branch would be Anglicanism. Right? Henry VIII divorces England from the Catholic Church, and essentially his daughter starts the Anglican Church, kind of a moderately Protestant church, if I can say it that way. In some ways it looks Catholic. It kept most of the Catholics happy, but there's no ties to Rome. Okay? The Archbishop of Canterbury becomes the secular head of the Anglican Church, the Anglo Church, right? Which would be the first church in the English colonies. Jamestown, Virginia, those guys were Anglican. The Puritans don't come around for another decade or so in Massachusetts. By the way, no Anglican Church today, right? Would be the Episcopal Church would be the grandson of the Anglican Church, at least in the United States. And today, actually, quite liberal. And if you're thinking, like, where's my church in this? I'm Baptist, Methodist, whatever. Those twigs come later on, okay? Largely in the late 18th and 19th centuries. All right, so one of the big things is the split of Latin Christendom. It's like splitting the atom. All this energy is released, and it's fairly violent, okay? War between Spain, Catholic Spain, and England, Protestant England. The Dutch go the way of Calvinism for the most part, break away from Spain. If you look at the geography, that didn't make sense anyway. Like, the Netherlands is really far from Spain. How did Spain own the Netherlands? Well, it partially helps to explain why the Netherlands broke free from Spanish rule. Civil war in France between the Catholics and the Huguenots or the Calvinists almost destroys France before the Edict of Nantes, right? This Edict of Toleration, where Henry IV, who was Protestant, becomes king, becomes Catholic. Hey, Paris is worth a mass, right? He becomes Catholic in name only, and there's toleration for Protestants. It took Europeans a long time to believe you could have one roi, loi, et foi. It sounds better in French, doesn't it? One king, one faith, one law. So the religious diversity we enjoy today, right, was a long time coming. People who look like each other, people over the same country and language, killed each other in the name of religion. Right? Thus, it perhaps should not be surprising that they're going to kill people who don't look like them in North America. They're going to enslave people who don't look like themselves from Africa. Okay? All right. So, that was all review, but pretty darn important stuff. Okay? Transformation of Europe. Okay. Martin Luther, Henry VIII, a map of Europe. Not actually from your textbook, but pink is going to remain Catholic. Ooh, especially Spain, right? In Spain, if you're not Catholic, you're in big trouble. They even put you on trial, right? Remember, they kicked out the Jews and Muslims already. Protestants, not welcome. France, some toleration eventually, right? Italy, yes. There's not an Italy yet, but the Italian Peninsula, home of the papacy, is going to remain Catholic. The dark pink here, Orthodox, that's the earlier split of Christianity, although this is ruled, Ottoman Empire is Muslim ruled, Jewish people are there. That's like one of the few tolerant places on this map was the Ottoman Empire. Like, just keep religion to yourself. It doesn't matter. Who cares? I would say the other place was actually the Netherlands. Although Calvinists on this map, it tended to be pretty liberal. Keep it to yourselves. We don't care what religion you are. Okay? In green, Lutheranism in different shades in Northern Europe. Anglicanism in orange, but you see Puritans and Pilgrims here, called the Presbyterian, the Calvinists here. The English are invading Ireland and actually doing really bad things to the people of Ireland, who stay Catholic just to kind of retain some independence culturally. Catholic Church, oh, that branch survives, right? Fixes most of its problems. It takes a couple of decades, but they reaffirm their mission statement, right? 7 sacraments, the education of the clergy. They send the Jesuits out to try to reconvert Protestants to Catholicism. And if that didn't work really well, then how about the native peoples of the Americas, especially in La Nouvelle France, or China or Japan? We'll talk about the Jesuits who ended up in Japan. It didn't turn out all that well for them, by the way, okay? In Protestant lands, women accused, sometimes men, of witchcraft, hanged. That's actually the word, hanged. You know that Salem, Massachusetts, right? 17 women and 2 men, a couple dogs killed. For what? Cavorting with the devil? What does that mean? Having sex with the devil. That's just... This is not yet a rational age. So keep in mind the importance of the scientific revolution that is tucked into the end of this chapter, when at least a few people in Christian Europe begin to think more rationally, not as fanatically. Okay. In Spain, you weren't safe either. It's, non-Catholics could be burned at the stake. All the wars and violence we talked about without getting too depressed and bogged down in it. Okay? So new stuff. Nations get put together. Okay. Consolidation of sovereign nations. Sovereign means powerful, right? All the power is held in the nation. Monarchs put together the jigsaw puzzle kingdoms. They had done so over hundreds of years. But by 1600, certainly we have Spain, we have Portugal, France, and England. They're conquering Ireland. Scotland becomes part of Great Britain in 1707. But this is a big mess here, right? Where the hell is Germany? We don't get a Germany for quite a while, okay? Much of this area is called the Holy Roman Empire, but as a good friend named Voltaire quipped once, it was none of the above. Okay? It was neither holy nor Roman nor an empire. It's just a jigsaw puzzle that the emperor can never seem to put together. Italy, likewise, okay? We're stuck together Russia. So in some places, we get nation states. That's a word historians use to mean countries, okay? Independent countries. To do so, if I'm the ruler and you're the big landlords, the nobles, I need to put you down or bargain with you somehow to get your power. Okay? So centralizing monarchs, it's like if a country's a jigsaw puzzle, you as the ruler need to get all the pieces. The landlords want to hold on to them. So you got to either buy them out or crush them in order to get those pieces so you can put the nations together. And that might take many, many generations. Okay? And also, once you get the puzzle put together, you're going to glue it with religion. That's why these rulers thought everyone in the country had to be of their faith, of the ruler's faith. Because that religion was the glue that held everything together. At least that's what they thought. Attempted revival of Holy Roman Empire. Well, yes, Charles V tries to put it together. By the way, when you see a little R in the notes, this means reigned or ruled. Okay? It didn't work so well. It worked better in other places by following one of two paths. Either the ruler had all the power, absolute power, or the ruler had to bargain, had to rule by law, constitutionalism. We see constitutionalism rise in England and the Netherlands, and very importantly for the history of the United States, okay, by the way, there are English colonies in North America by this time, okay, by the early 1600s. England must follow the path, or at least the rulers there, the monarchs, must follow the path of constitutionalism. They cannot break the law, okay? Very relevant in the United States as we speak, okay? As people talk about perhaps, let me not take an opinion for once, perhaps the crimes of Donald J. Trump, okay, breaking the law. Can a president break the law? Well, no, because you can't break the Constitution, all right? Constitution is supreme law. In France, England, and Spain, we get Francis Henry VIII already mentioned, right? Yes, he initiates the Protestant Reformation in England, which was a brilliant move in some respects, right? Divorces England from the Catholic Church. Well, the Catholic Church owned a whole lot of property in England that's now Henry's. And he gives it to people. He gives it to people who, hey, here's a couple 100,000 acres. Be loyal to me. Ferdinand and Isabella run the Inquisition. By the way, the church did not run these trials. It was run by the state, by the country, right, to enforce loyalty. If you weren't Catholic in Spain, you were seen as a terrorist, frankly. Constitutional states meant government is limited by law. I'm just going to check my camera here, see how long I've been droning on. And yes, wow, I'm coming right to the end. So, constitutional states are limited by law. That's going to be the result of civil war and even revolution in England. So we're going to take a commercial break, like right now, and I'll come back with the rest of this chapter in a moment.